Nothing. You should see what he did in the bird bath. Gotta go. Hi. Actually, can you guys even hear me? Can you hear me now? Any that darn glare. Oh. Anyway, Thrash Bondo here, folks, and I'm here with one of my infamous Thursday chats. And yes, again, I am covering for Mr. Dave. He wasn't able to do tonight's, and I'm always happy to do it, provided that I can. Anyway, I'm going to give you guys. Usually, someone's already been chomping at the bit. No bits have as yet been chomped, but I don't mind doing a one-man show until my guests arrive. And look who it is. Tom the Hungry Jerk says it's five. It's five. Oh, it's five, everyone. Yes, it would be to you, Tom, because it's five your time. It's actually eight mine. Lance Chafin in the house. Oh, how are you, Lance? Hey, good to see you, man. I saw you the other night, but you kind of well, I don't know if you ducked out earlier. We just lost the stream, but anyway, good to see you again. Justin, the Braidwood Inn is in the house. Is this live or is this live or Memorex? In my case, a little from column A and a little from column B. Keith E. We don't need any. I'm gonna have to put my glasses. I try to do this with my glasses because I feel the expressions are better without them because of the glare. But Keith E. says we don't need any stinking thrashes. Thrashes? We don't need no stinking thrashes. A lot of you folks saying hello to one another, by the way. Keith, I saw a post. You said something very interesting, and I'm trying to remember what it was because I had something that I was going to say in connection with your recent comment, and I can't think of what it is now. If I think of it, I'll let you know, by the way. But hey, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for commenting. Thanks for just being you. John Collins in the house says hello. Hello to you too, John. Great to see you. Great to see you. Yeah, those of you I have contact info, I actually sent out a reminder text that I was actually having the show tonight. What I won't do for my people. When I have 1,000 subscribers, that might be a little tricky, but now, at the risk of sounding like a broken record, can you guys hear me okay? I know you can see me okay. Can you hear me okay? Hey, watched Tough and Deadly with Roddy Piper. The only thing I've seen by Roddy Piper, I'm just getting a reminder that I'm on tonight. The only thing I've seen by Roddy Piper, to my recollection, is his probably best known film, They Live. And of course, my favorite Roddy Piper film is Hell Comes to Frogtown. And while on the topic of They Live, I got to say something. I need to apologize. Man has been, well, I've been a fan of his for going on 40 years. Great actor, has been in some of my favorite movies. He's also does a voice for Rick and Morty. Keith David. I believe I referred to him as David Keith in my last live chat, and I want to, if you or any of his fans are watching, I want to apologize. It is Keith David. I've been making that mistake for decades. Don't know why. I think because my brother's name is David, so I just have it stuck in my head that David is the first name. But in any way, yes, it was Keith David who was in They Live. Mr. Lid says, Thrash, much anticipated. Anticipation. It's making me stop singing. Cindy D in the house says, hello, everyone. Hello to you too, Cindy. Great to see you. Oh, Brian says, David Keith is good too. Justin, you're always a very forgiving chap. Thank you. Thank you very much. Brubaker. Keith David, officer and a gentleman. Give me a second. I know Louis Gossett Jr. played the drill instructor, but was Keith David the guy who had his family set up in the cheap motel near him, and he tries to buy the buckles off our hero, dare I say? And because that's ringing a bell, but I know Louis Gossett Jr. was the drill sergeant. But thank you for that little piece of trivia. Yeah, he was in Platoon and some other great stuff as well. And of course, one of my favorite thriller, horror, sci-fi movies, John Carpenter's The Thing. Let's see what else we got going on here. Superplex says, yeah, he was in that one. He died in the end. Spoiler alert, Superplex. But yes, I actually talked about that, how at the end of They Live, again, spoiler alert, they kill off both the main male characters, which is probably why they never did a sequel. Lance Chafin says, ever seen the recent Steven Seagal films? I kind of tuned out on Steven Seagal, I must admit. Too much notoriety. He was never that great an actor to begin with, but I kind of watch his stuff tongue in cheek. But he's just such a notorious mumser that I just can't bring myself to look at him anymore. Sorry for those of you who are still fans. Still a free country. Well, for the moment. John Collins says, I have the perfect starter conversation for tonight. The question is who or what secondary character on a sitcom or drama should have gotten their own show, not at the cash grab, but because they deserve it? That is an excellent, excellent question. I would have to give it some thought, but well, frankly, my first thought would be Michael Conrad from Hill Street Blues, but unfortunately, he left the show because he died, so was unable to get a spin-off series. But there are plenty of character actors that secondaries and whatnot that would have done great, and a couple actually did get their own spin-off shows, and for whatever reason, they didn't do well. The Maid and the Jeffersons had a very short-lived spin-off series, which sadly was canceled after like 4 episodes. It was just not given a chance to catch on. Briarwoodin says the last Seagal I ever liked was Under Siege 2. I think I may have seen one or two after that, but not much longer. Tom Hungry Jerk says, yes, John, Lenny and Squiggy. Didn't they actually talk about doing that? Wasn't there like a conception about that? One thing I do know is Carmine Raguso was supposed to get his own spin-off series, and it just never happened. Worcester, Mass represent. He's actually from Worcester. In fact, I believe, if I remember correctly, I believe he's also from my neighborhood, Burncoat Street. Same as Dennis Leary. Oh, and for those of you who care, Dennis Leary is not only from my same neighborhood, he and I'm giving the game away. Today's my actual birthday, folks. Today is my actual birthday. And Dennis Leary and I have the same birthday, just he is exactly 10 years older than I am. So when he was having breakfast on his 10th birthday, I was being born. Little trivia for you folks out there. Let's see what else we got going on here. A lot of people saying hello. Duplex says Ted Baxter. I could see that. Suplex says Good Times was a spinoff of the secondary character, and so was Facts of Life. Facts of Life definitely was. The funny thing about Good Times is she worked for Maude in New York City. When the show was spun off, she's living in the projects in Chicago. They never quite understand how she was commuting. But that actually had to do with the fact that the guy who wrote the show, the same guy Lionel Jefferson is based on, and if I remember correctly, Roger Thomas from What's Happening. He actually grew up in the Chicago project, which is why they wanted to set it there. If I remember the anecdotal evidence correctly. Keith E says, I like Katie Seagal series Killing Me. I don't remember Killing Me. I did like Katie Seagal. Little secret, her father was a film producer and director and is probably best known. He did Omega Man, which is one of my favorite adaptations of The Last Man on Earth. Little trivia there for you. Oh, Lance Javin says, happy birthday, Thrash. Lance, thank you very much, by the way. I stopped celebrating birthdays years ago, but thank you very much. Mr. Lid says, did one of those two die, Lenny or Squiggy? Squiggy passed on recently in the last few years. He had been sick for years. Duplex says, Dennis Leary and Conan O'Brien are cousins. That's ringing a bell. Tom the Hungry Jerk says, "Happy birthday." Yeah, I remember something. Thank you. I remember something about that. But yes. Well, and of course, Conan was also from Massachusetts. Weymouth, I want to say. I forget. The unapologetic geek is in the house. I'm here, but I won't be chatting much. Listening while in the car. As long as you're not watching in the car, you'd be a heavy casualty. The unapologetic geek is in the house. If you haven't liked and subscribed, please do. He just did a live watch with The Brain That Wouldn't Die. It was so much fun. Please like and subscribe. You will love his retro reviews, but you have to join him for his public domain theater. It's too much fun. It's more fun than humans should be allowed. Zuplex says, "Happy birthday, T Pawns." Thank you, Mr. Zuplex. The unapologetic geek says, "Happy birthday." Thank you so much. John Collins says, "Hey Bob, nice video today. You and I might have been the only ones at the premiere of it. It still was awesome. Thank you so much. There were a couple more, but yes, it was so nice of you to join the premiere. I was going to do this one as a premiere. Someone told me that if you do it as a premiere, you actually get more attention from people. The foundation, who actually might be here later on today. But I was running a little bit late, so I went right in nuts and bolts. But the next one I do will be a premiere. It sounds like one of those old 70s like Monday night of the week movies, the premiere of Kingdom of Spiders or whatnot. Zuplex says, "Yeah, Squeaky died." Cindy D says, "Mallory's boyfriend, played by Scott Valentine, Nick, wanted his own show. He didn't get it. He passed on tragically too, I believe." Life and Set Ending says, "What's happening?" We were just talking about what's happening. The Life and Set Ending. Yes, it's our friend Steve from the Life and Set Ending. Please check him out as well. I'm sure most of you already know him quite well, but he does some wonderful nostalgia posts, particularly on people that we've lost, and we've had a lot of very heavy casualties in recent years. So he's been very busy and has put out some outstanding work as far as memorials go. Tom the Hungry Jerk says, "Oh no, buffering, love Omega Man." I don't see any buffering. I will watch for it. If any of you else notice buffering, please let me know. Lance Chapman said, "Too bad Anne Heche passing away. That is a heartbreaker. Very, very sad." Justin the Braidwood in says, "I don't know if Scott Valentine was big enough for his own show. I mean, he was funny, but I don't know." Cindy D says, "Happy birthday, Thrash." Yeah, I'm not sure if he could have held it, but again, I think they were going to go in a different direction. Zuplex says, "Chrissy should have gotten her own show. She wanted to do Robin's Nest. She had a vision that she would come back and that she and Jack would be married and that she would actually do that spinoff. But she had burned all her bridges by that point. We actually talked about that on Monday's live chat. Tom the Hungry Jerk says, "I'm from Massachusetts." Yes, you live on the West Coast now, but you're a Bay Stater like me. Braid Wooden says Chrissy got a Vegas contract, which was probably a lot of money. It was, but it was working her to death. She was actually going to break a contract and see about going back to. Wait, you and I talked about this, didn't we? I thought you and I did talk about this. It was in the made-for-TV movie about Three's Company. Let me know if I'm off the mark here. Tom the Hungry Jerk says missed it at work. Let's just see. Oh, Lisa Field, pardon me, is in the house. Says hi, Thrash Pondo. Hi, everyone. Hey to you too, Lisa. So glad you could make it. Tug, the unapologetic geek, says no buffering on my end. Good. Superplex as well. Well, Tom, I hope it's not just your connection, but please keep me posted, everyone. Braid Wooden says Cindy D, but Rhea Perlman got one, so Rhea Perlman got her own spinoff. Daryl Johnson says 12 watching and only 3 likes. I ain't seeing that, am I? Daryl Johnson in the house. Thank you, Daryl. And what he said, everybody likes, subscribes, forwards, lateral moves. Come on, people, we're all in this together. Thank you, Daryl, and welcome aboard. Skipping down, Hungry Jerk says, "I didn't know Scott died. Sad." I heard that recently. It was something sudden and tragic. Zupalik says, did you ever meet Dennis Leary? No, I've never met Dennis Leary, but we were both from Worcester. Or what we say up here, Worcester. Tom, back me up here. In New England, we call it Worcester, as in my sister, Krista, got a blister where you kissed her. Skipping down. Yes, we discussed it on Dave's live stream at some point. Braidwood in says that. Oh yes, okay. So, like I said, I'm getting deja vu all over again. Super, super. Elias in the house. Hey, Elias. Elias, happy birthday from Rajani and I. When's the party? Hey, the party will be for your little bundle of joy. Everybody wish Elias luck. He's got a little one coming, by my calculations, very, very soon. And good luck. And welcome aboard, Elias. Daryl Johnson says, hey, Bob. Yes, hello, back at you. Big Guys 45 says, hey, fan. Hey, Big Guys 45, how are you? He's put some great stuff up in the last week. If you haven't checked out Big Guys 45, please, please do. Levins Editing says, I was thinking of an old show. Remember the wackiest ship in the Army? I do. I do remember that. I'm trying to remember where and when I saw it, but I do recall it. John Collins says, Bob, I saw a video today that discussed then at 100 years old, Norman Lear is thinking about redoing the episodes comprised Maud Dilemma that will create water cooler conversation the next day. It sure would. It sure would. Big Guys 45 says, thanks for all the channel support. By the way, very kind of you all. Amazing stuff. Again, thank you so much again. Well, thank you for the great material. You put out some great stuff, and we're always looking for more great stuff to add to our nostalgia bank. Keith E says, looks like I may be the first thumbs up. Where is Daryl? Reminding everybody. Funny you should mention that. He just did. The two of you work well together. We'll just had that sort of pop thing where all of a sudden, as I'm losing, did I tell you guys not long ago? I had 149 comments in the chat log. That's crazy. So every now and then, if it bumps up, it means you guys are throwing them faster than I can duck them. Skipping to. Oh, there we are. Zublik says, yeah, I remember that show barely. I think it only ran for one season. Probably one of the spinoffs we were talking about. Oh, I think that was the Robin's Nest, the spinoff of Three's Company, or in this case, follow-up series. Someone just said hello to Tracy. Oh, there she is. Tracy Myers in the house. Hello to you too, Tracy. Good, so good to see you, as per always. Glad you could make it. Zublik says it was on when No Time for Sergeants was on. Was No Time for Sergeants a TV series? I remember the film. I don't remember a TV series. Of course, would have been very young at the time. Daryl Johnson says, I can type 101 words per minute. I certainly can't read that many. Cindy D says, love your 45s, big guys. He's got some great stuff. Oh, Ken Wilkinson in the house. He says, hi, Lance. I'm assuming you said hi to... Oh, there it was. Looking back up. Hi, Bob. Hi to you, Kenneth. Great to see you. Welcome aboard. Live Setting says, how about the old show Adventures in Paradise? That goes back to 1960. I don't know. I remember that. I was only 4. I wasn't born until 67. Way back when, in 67. Zublik says, yes, it only ran one season, T-Pawns. Thank you. Tom, the Hungry Jerk, says, I once could type 80 words on a manual. Ooh, on a manual. I never learned to type. Well, I can use a keyboard, but I never really get good at it. Tracy Rothmeyer says, nice shirt, Rob. Thank you so much. Tracy Rothmeyer says, you and me in 67. Oh, yes, and I was just discussing earlier. Today is my birthday proper. I turned 55 today, August 18. My mother showed the little bracelet that showed the time of birth. Lisa Fields just said, big guys, I just subscribed to your channel. Oh, Tom Lemmer in the house. Hello, Thrash Ponds. Hi, everyone. Tom, welcome back. Great to see you. So glad you decided to join us. Yes, I saw you subscribe recently. Welcome to the party. Zublik says, I definitely remember the Adventures in Paradise. Two guys in a boat. Superplex, we've talked about this. Be nice. Oh, Wajamin, or is it Wajamin? Either way, Wajamin says, hello. Oh, happy birthday, Wajamin. Thank you so much. Can I call you Wajamin, or do you prefer Waj Amin? But either way, thank you for the birthday wishes. Les Javen says, I think we will get a Knight Rider or Airwolf reboot. I would be okay with either one of those. Daryl Johnson said, almost as old. Almost an old dude, Bob. Almost. Oh, I'm pretty old. Steve, the sad ending says 55. Wow, you don't look a day over 52. Thank you. It's when you look at the gray, it becomes a little easier to believe. Trey Marvel says Mazel Tov. 55 is thank you, Tracy. Tom Hungry Jerk says youngster pawns. He's a couple years older than me. Couple, not many. Ken Wilkinson says my birthday is September 1st. Thrash, happy birthday. Prelated. Let's see. Mr. Led. Did I say hi to you already, Mr. Led? I was saying hello to people so fast I lost track. Hello, Mr. Led. And he says, you're still a baby. I'm 66. Oh, Mr. Led has given me some great source material for some more creepy classics. And John, I promise I haven't forgotten yours either. Zuplik says, Life, do you remember the Roaring 20s? I actually remember the Roaring 20s. I actually do, but I think I watched it. Well, I had to have watched it in rerun. Let's see. John Collins says, Bob, when are you going to become a superstar and take your own night in live stream instead of the awesome ultra guest host? Thank you for the ultra awesome. I think you have found a very good niche. Which night will you pick up? That's an excellent question. I'm going to have to wait until after the season's over. As you guys know, I live on Cape Cod. I work in hospitality, and this is our busy time of year. I'm surprised I still have Thursdays off. So for right now, I'll be picking up Thursdays whenever Dave doesn't need them and having my live chats on Monday with ENC and all of our guests. But for right now, I would like to have my own night, and I have a couple ideas in mind, but we'll have to play it by Eeyore. I won't poo-poo the idea, but we'll play it by Eeyore. So DD says, I turned 55 in February, Thrash. Well, welcome to the party. Ken Wilkins says, I will be 60, Thrash. Wow, I thought I had a few years on you. Zublik says, as far as creepy classics go, how about Mac the Knife? That's a good one. While we're on the subject of the creepy classics, one of the ones, Letty, that you suggested to me, DOA, very creepy song. The only problem is the actual melody itself is very creepy. You know, the great thing about the creepy classics is it's this very happy, up tempo. I want to party when I listen to this music. DOA, the music, it actually sounds like an ambulance, like siren. So it's not really happy or uplifting. So that's just a creepy. But you're thinking, and I love it. The life and sad ending says message retracted. Message retracted to you too. Awajamin says I will be 50 in December. Welcome to the second half of the century. They say the first 100 years are the toughest. Zupalik says, how do you deal with alcoholics T-Pons? I join them. Justin the Braid Wooden says, Bob, have you ever been to Point Judith? Not to my recollection. Lisa Field says, I'm 53. You don't look a day over 33, dear. Skipping down, a lot of people having fellowship. And Elias says, cookies and mussels alive. Ho. I'm sorry. Cockle, it was jumped as I read. Cockles and mussels alive, alive, oh, alive, alive, oh, alive, alive. Oh, and Elias, um, I wanted to talk to you again. It was the Dark Tower was the retro game that my friend found that we wanted to get you on board with. We might do any of you folks up there fans of the old electronic board game Dark Tower. If you're close to my age, you probably were. A friend of mine actually found an app which recreates it, and we needed someone to teach the game to as an instructional DIY. And Elias was the person we thought might have fun with it. But we'll talk more later. I'll give you a call when we're not in the middle of a chat with everyone else. So Blick says, I'm 64. Gee, I thought you were 70. Ooh. The Life and Sad Ending says, Bob, do you have regulars and do you remember what they drink? I certainly do. I certainly do. You almost have to. You almost have to. Fortunately, they make it simple. The idea of the creative drink has kind of gone out the window. I work in an Italian restaurant, so it's mostly wine and beer, but a lot of people, they're going to want Tito's dirty martini, straight up rocks on the side, 3 olives, all the little details. So, yeah, it becomes second nature. Sometimes, like, I might forget their wife's name, but I always remember what they drink. It's uncanny, but thank you, and yes, I do. Tom says 58 in October. You see, you're only a couple years older than I am. Zuperlick says, T-Pons, did you ever play Dungeons and Dragons? Yes, I did. I never got to the Dungeon Master category, but I did play Dungeons and Dragons. Lance Javen says, Cindy, what do you call a Dr. Pepper? I think we have a dad joke in the works, Lance. I'll be watching for the response. Tom Lunky Jerk says, I still have my D&D books from 75. Wow. That is like cool squared. You guys are going to find this hard to believe. I actually created my own role-playing game. You're going to find this really hard to believe. It was a post-apocalyptic board game. It was set in America after World War III. I don't want to say it was like Mad Max, that's what everyone compares everything to, but it was sort of in a balkanized post-war America, and your job was basically to bring America back together by putting together warlords and vigilante groups. Doesn't sound much fun these days, I'm afraid. Skipping forward, Cindy D. Outland says Cindy D. He's called a physician. I'm going to steal that. And take credit for it, by the way. Tom Nugget Jerk says, I cooked in an Italian restaurant, gained 45 pounds. I could see that. Did they call you chef? Yes, chef. Thanks, chef. Justin the Braidwooden says, I'll have to catch the rest of the chat and replay. Have to leave Night Thrash. Braidwood in. Justin, thank you so much for joining us. You have yourself a great night. You're always welcome here. Good to see you. Thank you. Keith E. says, I am 65, was in the hospitality, hotel, restaurant business for 45 years. It's nice to be retired. Tip your waiter. I'll be here all week. It certainly is. I've worked in hotels too, but I just have the one gig now, and it's in a family restaurant, which is quite nice. We're very busy this time of year, though, and I'm getting too old for running around with people half my age. John Collins says, Bob, my wife and I went to the theater, saw the movie Elvis. It was an entire biography, and Tom Hanks gave a wonderful Oscar-worthy performance. At the very least, Golden Globe should be in luck. That I've heard nothing but good things about it, but I never get to the theaters. But I've heard nothing but good things about it. Thank you for upholding that. Zublik says, did it ever lead you to hide in a tunnel? No. A lot of people say good night to Justin. Oh, Life and Setting says, my stepfather and mother both tended bar. My stepfather took the profession very seriously. He remembered your drink, and he always had a shine on his shoes, which is funny because they can't see your shoes. My big thing is there are three things bartenders should always have on them: a lighter, a bottle opener, and a bar rag. If they don't, they're doing something wrong. Now, a lot of people say, well, you can't smoke in bars anymore. Keep the lighter on you. If just to light the candle for somebody's birthday or something. A lighter, a bottle opener, and a preferably clean bar rag at all times. It's like what was the book? Douglas Adams, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Always know where your towel is. 23 Myers says, never trust a skinny chef. Is that an old Yiddish saying? It sounds like a Yiddish saying. Cindy D says, I thought I was alone. Glad I'm not. Lance Chafin says, Thrash, how do you divide 17 apples among 16 people? I'm sorry, I know this one. You make applesauce. It is a good one, though. Zuplik says, don't drink and you'll live longer and save at the time. Yes, but you're sober all the time. You got to think these things through, Superplex. Lance Chafin says, yes, you make applesauce. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to give the game away, but I do remember that one. Cindy D says, yes, Superplex, I watched my husband die from alcoholism. Cindy, I'm so sorry. Forgive the smart aleck comment. Tom Hungry Jerk says, me, as long as my pants aren't ripped. Truth of Minor says, just call me Booby. I have Boobala. Terrell Eugene Bellinger in the house. How you doing, Terrell Eugene Bellinger? Hello, Thrash Pondo. Happy Thursday. Sorry I'm late to the party. You're right on time, Terrell. Anytime you get here is perfect timing. A lot of people saying hello to Terrell. Cindy D says he passed on in 2015. Again, very, very, very sorry for your loss, Cindy. Very sorry. Steve, the Life in Settings says, now I'm thinking about the bartender Lloyd in The Shining. I always remember the when they did that on The Simpsons. And it was Mo. You kill your family, I'll give you a beer. Lance Chafin says, Thrash, what nation never stops moving? Ooh, give me a second. What nation never stops moving? Skipping down while I'm... John Collins says, Tom Hanks played the Colonel, the part he was born for. And he did so well, he almost unrecognizable. He was deep in character in the Colonel. What a ruthless man he was. I can only imagine. Keith E says, so the terrible walks into the bar. I'm sorry. So the termite walks into the bar and says, is the bartender here? Because he can't see over the bar? Okay. I like Mushroom walks into the bar. The bartender says, we don't serve your kind in here. And the Mushroom says, oh, come on. I'm a fun guy. Let's see. Terrell Eugene Bellinger says, what's the one SNL cast member's death that hit you the hardest? John Belushi. Hands down, John Belushi. There were a lot of other heavy casualties, but John Belushi was the worst for me. Let's see what else we've done. Oh, Tom Hungry says, I'm hungry. Speaking of which, gotta go, people. Thanks. Hey, Tom, so glad you could make it. Thanks for joining us. Feel free to watch the rest and rewatch. Les Chafin said they are called Russians. Yes, but their leader was always Stalin. Their leader was always Stalin. Touche. Mr. Lid says, I don't know Lloyd's name, but he just died recently. Oh, hey, bots, all my mods. Under Mr. Lid's comment, there's a particularly disgusting message. Oh, Lance Chafin. Wow, Lance, you were on top of things. But I'm going to actually see if even the name of the thing is kind of disgusting. Oh, well, it's good enough. Lance, thank you for getting the bot, by the way. You're my hero. Lisa Field says, like your dad jokes today, Thrash. Thank you. Yes, I just posted another top 10 of the worst dad jokes of all kind. Glad you guys enjoyed. Those of you caught it. Those of you who haven't, please do. Life and Dead says a rope goes into a bar. You must finish it. Yes, he puts on a pair of glasses. They say, yeah, we don't serve ropes even with glasses. So he frizzes up his hair and ties himself in the middle. And they go, yeah, that rope we just threw out. And the rope says, no, I'm afraid not. Let's see what else we got going on here. Oh, the unapologetic geek says, I can't drive 55. I can't survive 55. So join the club. Les Javen says, geek Sam Hagar, yes. Daryl Johnson says, I think it was Joe Turkle or something like that, the Lloyd the bartender. Oh, yes, we got rid of it, by the way. Tracy, thank you so much. Tom Lemmer says, Keith, a termite walks into a bar and says, where's the bartender? And Keith, he says, the termite eats wood. Is the bartender here? I'm still not putting the pieces together. Golden Rage of TV in the house. Pat, how you doing? He's in the house saying, we saying nice things about Dave. We're always saying nice things about Dave. And, of course, now that you're here, we'll say nice things about you as well. If you haven't checked out the Golden Rage of TV, please check out Pat at the Golden Rage. He just put out some phenomenal stuff. He was our guest, actually, on Ian C's live chat the other night. And we're looking forward to having him with our live chat. I believe Pat, it's this coming Monday, this one after the weekend that you're going to be joining us. Well, we're looking forward to it with breath which is baited. John Collins says, Bob, do you ever get tired as a bartender of hearing the same droll conversation? And how do you still maintain engaged in the conversation at the bar when you could give a dang about the conversation? It's easy now. Lately, I've been actually on the floor. We've been keeping one person on the bar. No, we don't even have a service bar. One person on the bar, and I've been taking tables with the servers because we're short-staffed as far as the servers go. So it's easy because I don't have to stick with them. I can just keep moving around. But you just get used to it. Usually the TV's on in the background. You just get used to it. You just learn to laugh and nod. And usually if they get really dull, you just tune them out. Terrell Eugene Bellinger says there were 2 sitcoms that were loosely based on Ferris Bueller's Day Off that aired back in the fall of 1990. Yes, I believe. Rachel, the girl who played Rachel on Friends, was in one of them. Oh, Pat, you're very, very welcome. Life and Editing says, Pat, it's Thrash's birthday. He is 61 today. I'm 55, but I'll be 61 soon enough. Let's see. Cindy D says, what's your best advice you have given as a bartender, Thrash? That's funny because usually I try to keep my advice to a less really important level. They're not listening to you half the time anyway. And I don't want to be responsible if things go terribly, terribly wrong. But there was a guy who he was in this terrible, terrible codependent family. And he was actually asking me what he should do. And he was explaining just how unhealthy and toxic, as they say, the family is. And I go, you got to just, quit fishing and cut bait. You got to just walk when they're ready to come around and get better. You'll be there. But for now, all you're doing is enabling them. And he didn't want to do it. He didn't want to do it. And he's like, but I can't believe people I love betray me. And I said, well, of course someone you love betray you. How could an enemy betray you? And whether he gave these toxic family members the space he needed to or not, I don't know. But I think he was expecting me to tell him something like, well, if you do this, that, and this. it'll fix your family, and there is no such equation. Trust me, people either decide to get better or continue to get worse. You can't make them get better. And although I always tell people that the three most important things that I've learned over the years, and it all comes down to this: adapt yourself, stay under the radar, and never give them a reason to get rid of you. And they would say, "Who do you mean they?" And I go, "You'll know they are." Everyone has someone that you have to tiptoe around. Oh, BK on the air is here. He says, "Hey there, hey to you too. Great to see you." Um, Again, if you haven't subscribed to BK on the air, check out his blogs. Fantastic stuff. Nostalgia, much like the rest of the stuff we got going on here and with Dave and with Pat. You'll love it. He has some great retro commercials. Just it's a lot of fun. So please subscribe to BK on the air. Lance Chafin says Jennifer Aniston. Yes, that was the name I was groping for. Only a moment ago. Holy cow, Dilly Dan's blog is in the house. Greetings from South Carolina. Dan, never lost faith in you. I knew you'd be here, by the way. Oh, and of course, Dan has many, many phenomenal channels, and you should subscribe to as many of them as he produces. They're all great. He put out a great one today, by the way. It was speculating that the plesiosaur is actually is the creature that evolved into the Loch Ness Monster. And it suggests how plesiosaurs could probably go from salt to fresh water back in the day. And I remember I had an almost exact conversation some 30, 40 years ago when I was in college. So this is nothing new. The problem is the people don't they bury this info, and every few decades it has to be pulled out and dusted off and presented again. But again, I'm not saying it's true. I'm not saying it's not true. But I'm just like saying is what I saw on your channel today. I had an exact same conversation with many years ago. It was great stuff. Please put that one on your next late night, a 13th hour. That'd be great. Daryl Johnson says, please hit the like button. What he says. Life and Sad Ending says, yes, people don't really understand you do more than just serve drinks. They really don't. They really don't. Unless they need something from you. The Golden Rage of TV says, at least you're not over the hill yet, Bob. But the view from up here must be amazing. I'm not far behind you. Not far behind you. Terrell Eugene Bellinger says, the NBC Ferris Bueller's sitcom with young Jennifer Aniston was canceled after one season because of awful ratings, awful reviews, and failure to capture the magic of the source material. That happens a lot. That happens a lot with these adaptations. And it just jumped up again, so I'm going to scroll back and try to pick up where we left off. Sublick says, worst experience with a customer T-Pawns. I have had a lot of them. Give me a second. I want to catch up, but I have a good one there. Daily Den, the good stuff. Said you said 8:30 in your text. I'm so sorry to have my glasses on. It was 8 o'clock. I think that was autocorrect, but I'm very glad you made it. You're always welcome. You're always welcome early too. Tom Lemery says, I think the guy that replaced Scott Baio from Diagnosis Murder was in the TV version of Ferris Bueller's Day Off. You might be right. I don't recall, but you might be right. Kenneth Wilkins says, your live stream was fun last night, Pat. Wish I could have been there. I work Wednesdays now. Wish I could have been there. Oh, Tom Longerdrick says, I've eaten, I'm back. That's outstanding. What do you have, by the way? A lot of people saying welcome back. Oh, a donut? Not very good for you. I think you're having like dinner. What type of donut? Jelly donut? Was it Superlex? Was a donut from Dunkin's? Did they have Dunkin's in California? The Life and Sad Ending says, "Hey Bob, there's a call for you on that old time painted phone just over your shoulder." It's the Twilight Zone. It's my grandmother. CDD says, Isaac on the Love Boat always gave good advice. He sure tried. Terrell Eugene Billington said Parker Lewis Can't Lose, which was inspired by Ferris Bueller's Day Off. ran for 3 seasons on Fledgling Thoughts Network and is less remembered these days. It was a pretty good show. The kid from that show went on to do The Stand, the original Stand. So Didi says advice. Oh, John Collins says, Bob, do you mind having an offline conversation with Ian and tell him that I am sure I would enjoy his books, but I really need them to be in audio versions so I can enjoy the most out of them. I certainly will. So he says, "Good advice, Thrash. Thank you, thank you. I try not to get involved in the personal matters, but when they present them to me." BK on the air says, "Bad dad jokes. Why don't pirates take a bath before they walk the plank?" Answer: because they just wash up on the shore. Okay. They wash up on the shore. The Unapologetic Geek says Lloyd the bartender is played by the same actor who plays Tyrell from Blade Runner. I've been dying to lay that trivia on you. I just got home at last. That is actually a very good. That is a very good trivia. Let's see what. Oh, it just did that jump again. Here we are. Boom, 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 boom. The guy who played Parker Lewis was on Webster. I didn't realize till I saw him on that show on Pluto. I didn't know that, Cindy. Very good. Oh, Tom Hungry Jerk says, and a beer. I might have a beer later on myself, actually. Lance Javen says, folks, I'm out. See you all next time. Lance, thank you so much for joining us. It was great having you. You're always welcome, and it's always good seeing you. Feel free to catch the rest and rewatch. And don't forget, likes. Keith E says, I might have missed it, but the termites walk into a bar and says to the bar, says, is the bartender here? He's asking about the wood on the bar. Is it tender? Oh, is the wood is the bar tender because he wants to eat it? Bang. Okay, it was just that's one of those jokes where you have to inflect, and I was not inflecting, but now I got it. Tom the Hungry Jerk says, just heard gunshots in my neighborhood. Good grief. Dude, take care of yourself. That's crazy. I'm so that's I get that every now and then myself, actually, and it's it's just very unsettling. Levin says, I need a personal moderator for my inappropriate comments. Well, it seems like you're policing yourself, and that's great. The Unapologetic Geek says, best advice I ever got from a bartender was, don't get life lessons from people who make money by giving you alcohol. That's excellent. That's excellent. I do like that. Trathos Meyer says, Steve, I can moderate for your lives. Oh, she just retracted that. It's okay. It's already out there. Mm-hmm. John Collins says, Bob, have you met Dennis Leary in person? No, I haven't, I'm afraid. But we are both from Worcester. I'm going to start that again. Trill Eugene Bellinger says, didn't Beverly Hills 90210 start airing around the same time when glitzy and glamorous primetime soaps dominated the 80s, like Dallas and Dynasty were on their way out? Yeah, right around that time. Early 90s. Okay, and worst person I ever got as a bartender, worst problem I ever had? I'll tell you, it was a slow night. For some reason, you always get the worst problems on these slow nights. I had maybe a half a dozen people at the bar. And these two clowns walk in. They look kind of like toughs, stocky, not fat, but just kind of bigger guys. Look like enforcers in maybe an old episode of Hill Street Blues. And they belly up to the bar, and they're kind of, and I'm like, oh, hi guys, how you doing? And they make reference to the fact, I won't say the exact words they do, but they were appreciative of the fact that I was of the same race they were. And I went, now, I should point this out. I had given them their first round before I even did this. They did that thing where they go, why, hello. They sat down at the bar, asked for a beer. I give them each a beer. And then as soon as the beers were in front of them, it was that sort of, where they let their hair down, but in a negative way. And I'm kind of like, it's going to be like this tonight. And then one says the other, yes, but we don't know of it. And then he makes reference to the ambiguity of my, let's just say, gender persuasion. And I'm like, oh, guys, come on. One guy at the end of the bar, actually, and I felt really bad. He was a regular, but you could tell he just didn't want any part of this. He just got up, he gave me some, and he left. And I didn't blame him. But I'm like, and the guy's like, and what do you think about that, huh? What do you think about that? And I'm like, oh, you're one of those clowns where you can't just make comments when nobody takes the bait you have to push. And I go, I think you need to keep your comments to yourself, is what I think. And he goes, well, maybe I'll just get my next beer somewhere else. And I go, that's kind of the one I was leaning towards myself, actually. Which I shouldn't have done. And not just because it was unprofessional, but because now they don't want to leave. When the drunk is making the decision, well, I'll take my business elsewhere, they'll go. But when they think you're giving them the deep six, no, I'm going to stick around now. And so I start mixing it up. The more heated of the two left, he wanted to have a cigarette. Fine with me. The other one, he decides to be peacemaker, and I'm like, that time has passed. We don't really appreciate your business here, and I think you guys can just go somewhere else. And this is going back and forth. And this guy, and he gets like, he thinks he's going to baffle me with logic. And at one point, he's actually like, you know what? Shut up. And I'm like, you know something, sir? You really shouldn't tell the person you're trying to convince you're okay to stay in the bar with to shut up. And he goes, I'm a customer. I can say whatever I want, so shut up. And I go, okay, now you're shut off too. And he goes, you know what? I haven't done anything illegal. You have no cause to throw me out. So we're not leaving. And he does this little thing with his face. And I go, I never said you had to leave. But if you stay, you're going to be thirsty because you're not getting another drop out of me. And swear to God, he could have went like this. And he made this face like, I want to burn your house down with your family in it. And I'm just like, you're wasting valuable drinking time by arguing with me. You could already be somewhere else with another cold beer, couldn't you? And he goes, okay, you just served me my last beer. I'm impaired. I can't drive now. You have to arrange to get me a ride home. And I go, fine. I go to the payphone. We still had payphones at this time. I go to the payphone. And I'll give you a hint. I typed 3 numbers. I made it look like I was typing the full 10. But I typed 3. And pretend that I'm talking to a cab company. I don't even need to pretend, by the way, because now that's the thing about regulars. Your regulars always seem to have your back. In fact, if this was a night where I had a full bar, these 2 would have probably been already thrown over the railing by now. But my big unofficial bouncers weren't working that night. It was me and maybe like a half a dozen other guys, and they were all smaller. One guy, though, he's headed up to here, and he looks like Dwight from The Office, literally, only a little shorter. But he's just had enough, and he's like, you don't need to talk to him like that. They're going to wolf pack him. And so they're not even paying attention to me. And that was also perfect because now I get 911 on. I go, I need you down at the blah, 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 blah. Straight away, there are 2 guys about to stomp this little guy. Then the bar, they didn't like that bar anyway, so they were down there in no time. Cops came up the stairs with their tasers out. Said, you're coming with us. I get the last laugh. The bartender always gets the last laugh. So Superplex, that's my worst drunk story. Now I just spent a lot of time. I'm going to have to backtrack to see where we left off here. Oh, Tom Lemery says Al Pacino told Johnny Depp a skeleton walks into a bar and says to the bartender, I'll have a beer and a mop. That's a classic. I love that one. Thank you, Tom. Danny Staten is also here with us and says, LOL, I live in South Carolina. Heat gun. I hear gunshots every day. Hillbillies here. I can imagine. Tracy Rosmeyer says, did you hit the dislike button, Tracy? You didn't hit the dislike button, did you, Tracy? Oh, she says, "No, I deleted something by mistake, no problem." I was gonna say, was it something I said? Uh, let's just see. Oh, Trilogy G. Miller just says, "What's the one sitcom casting change that you believe has done right?" Don't hate me for this. I like Mike Farrell better than Wayne Rogers in MASH. Joel Johnson says, "Well done." Well, when Coach died on Cheers and Woody was brought in, that was good. Very much so. Very much so. So look says, "How many times you had to call the bouncer?" I was the bouncer. We didn't have a huge bench. I was the bartender, bouncer, and busboy. I was much younger at the time. Cindy D says Cindy on Three's Company was a good choice. They didn't need Terry, but she would have killed Jack running into him all the time. Yeah, what didn't Cindy get the job on Dallas? That's why she left. The Unapologetic Geek says thoughts on the other ginger from Gilligan's Island. I'm sorry, I don't necessarily consider the movies canon, the made for TV movies, or do you mean the one from the pilot? If you mean the one with the pilot, well, again, she was supposed to be more like Marilyn Monroe, and the one from the pilot looked more like Marilyn Monroe. So she fit the bill. So Blake says, "Wow, those local PD are very effective. They do, and they didn't like the bar in the first place. Half the time they were parked across the street." The Apologetic Geek says, "No one has ever disliked Thrash. Thank you, Tug. I appreciate that." John Collins says, "Hey, Bob, my wife and I have originally gone to gala events, and I noticed that at least kind of events, the drinks are stronger than restaurants. You probably because um, they're not trying to milk the guests. The booze is all paid for, so it doesn't matter how strong and weak they make them. They're not trying to save money on the booze." Big Alien says actor Joe Turkel was Lloyd, the bartender, and Terrell in Blade Runner. Also in the Hindenburg 1976, great character actor, died in June of this year. I don't recall him in the Hindenburg, but of course I haven't seen that one in forever. Tom Nugget says, "Me too" on Feral Ponds. Thank you. Daryl Johnson says, "Good job, BK." Yeah, that was actually some good stuff. The Unapologetic Geek says, "Unapologetic doesn't roll off the tongue when you're trying to rattle it off." Tug says, "Oh, I didn't know that. He died, BK. I was unfamiliar until just now as well." Suplex says, "How many times does the local PD drink at your bar?" Um, well, you mean the restaurant? That bar store was to a place I worked at years ago. We do get a certain amount of a constabulary in our restaurant. By the way, the owners are very tight with the local PD, which is a nice thing. John Collins says, "Bob, have you ever noticed that literally the areas of the restaurant where the bar is amped accessible for people with disabilities to engage in the conversation, probably because the bar stools are so high?" I have noticed that. I have noticed that. In fact, many years ago, I had a friend of mine who was bound to a wheelchair, and I felt so bad. I was actually working in the mall, and we had a high counter, and he asked me what we had, and I told him, and he kind of like rolled his eyes. I went, "He can't see the counter," because So sadly, it's something that sadly sometimes people don't consider, and I apologize on behalf of hospitality. Terrell Eugene Bellinger said, "For me, Harry Morgan joining MASH as Colonel Potter season after McLean Stevenson's Colonel Blake's unceremonious send-off was a great choice." Yeah, Mr. Morgan did a fine job. Uh, Tug says, "Yeah, call me Tug. It's easier. It just so much easier to just rattle it off." City D says the bartender gets the last laugh. There's a dad joke in there somewhere. I'm sure there is. Tom Laramie says, "Agreed, Terrell." Dave Claroni in the house. David says, "Hey guys, sorry I'm late. Not a problem. Like I said, you're always on time in Thrash's house." Let's see. Oh, by the way, so Danny, are you going to be putting that footage of the Loch Ness on your 13th hour video this week? You got to check out his 13th hour. It's sort of it reminds me a lot of the old Night Flight show where there's some central themes, but the impresario posts some pretty cool music and short films and other stuff like that. Ah, maybe. Thank you, Dan. Alzuplik says, T Pons, do you have your own version of Norm? Yeah, me. Life and Setting says, Bob, Rob, Thresh, which do you prefer? Bobby. You know who used to call me Bobby? Senator Ted Kennedy used to call me Bobby, and that used to tickle me pink because that's what he called his brother Bob. So yeah, and an old coach used to call me Bobby as well. I was hold that thought. How hideously embarrassing. My living room, folks. So yeah, that's back up. But yeah, Bob is possibly best. But I like Thrash too, particularly when I'm in character, shall we say. A lot of people having fellowship. Zublik says, you knew Senator Ted Kennedy? I did, actually. I worked in a shop which wasn't far from the compound. And he used to come in Sunday mornings to get the Sunday paper and just see what was going on in the town. And we'd chat briefly, and then he'd go on to more important things. But he would come in and say, hi, Bobby. And let's see. And thank you for asking. Gerald Jones says, or aliens trying to get in the house. The aliens are already here. Zublik says, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain, folks. That's me. The other side of the curtain is over there. Doug says, happens with the best of us, confirmed. Wajimine says, gotta be gremlins. Gremlins. Does that mean Phoebe Cates is here somewhere? Bye, guys. Kidding. She's happily married. Terrell Eugene Bellinger says Cheers went from being a low-rated sitcom to almost got canceled in the first season to become one of the most beloved sitcoms of all time by its 11th and final season that aired. Yes, it sure did. Keithy says back again. Did you hear about the two whales that walked into a bar? One whale sings and sings and sings, and the other whale says, shut up, Larry, you're drunk. That reminds me of another joke, which I can't tell, but yeah. Tom the Trick says, I've been to Chappaquiddick. Someone was going to have to say it sooner or later. Trey Throws Minor says, how is the daylight when it's 9:02 and in your living room? LOL. It's actually dark here, and well, it's dark where you guys are too. Remember, we're on the East Coast time. Dave Florence says, is that the ghost of Bobby Kennedy telling you he is the only Bobby? We have enough ghosts in this area, but I don't think Bobby Kennedy is one of them. But thank you for playing. We have some lovely parting gifts. Denny Jane says 13 o'clock live with Daily Dan Saturday night. Chariots of the Gods. Oh, cool. This week, ancient alien stuff, and he gave a link. Sounds you know what? You're gonna have to text me beforehand to make sure I'm awake. Zublik says, sounds like Senator Ted was a cool dude. He always was when I met him. He always was very nice to me. Beaky on the air says, thanks, Thrash, for the kind words. You're very, very welcome. The Unapologetic Geek says, or Tug says, don't bring up Santa Claus around her. I feel like I've missed something there. The Life and Setting says, I saw Ted's brother Bobby in early May at the campaign stop in 1968 in Madison, Indiana. I was 12. I remember you told that story. In fact, don't you have a picture? I thought I remember seeing a picture. Uh, so Blick says tragedy struck the Kennedy family often. So sad. My wife, I remember when John died, my wife cried for 3 days. They were actually, Tom, you must know this. Around Cape Cod, there's like some little tiny islands that were roughly on the path his plane was taking from New York to Hyannis. The Coast Guard was checking the islands in the hope that the plane had crashed within swimming distance, and they had swum to the islands and survived. Very, very sad. Oh, Ken Wilkins says, I have Ted Kennedy's autograph. I never get his autograph, but I used to chat with him. Let's see. I feel like I've missed one or two. Let me just get. Oh, John Collins. I did miss one. John Collins says, I mean, sitting at the bar stools must sometimes feel like a rite of passage. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to be a lush. I could be less at a table. I simply miss the conversation. I could be in. No, I certainly understand. There's a certain sense of camaraderie as well as the actual imbibing of alcohol. Um, Life and Setting says, what kind of wood doesn't float? Wood that's been super saturated with water. Darrell Johnson says, did he tip good? On a Sunday paper? No, people don't generally tip on a Sunday paper. Teresa Rosmeyer says, speaking of photos, I sent Ian pictures of John Cusack from my high school. I heard that. That is like so cool. In fact, one of the movies I was just talking about, one of my favorite John Cusack movies is Better Off Dead. I absolutely love that movie, and there is absolutely no way they could make that movie between all the reference to self harm, underage shenanigans, drug usage, lack of political correctness. They just couldn't make the movie. But at the time, it was just seen as so funny. The Life and Setting says Natalie Wood. I shouldn't tell Natalie Wood about Christmas. Oh, no, Natalie Wood. Oh, dude. You do need a mod for that one. Wow, that just got to me. Terrible. Well, I'll let it go this time because I've told worse. Zublik says, did Ted Kennedy ever drink in your bar? Ted Kennedy, no. No, there was a bar I used to frequent. Supposedly he used to go there quite frequently as well, but I never saw him there. Unapologetic Geek says, oh my god, that wood joke. Yes, and who was I not supposed to mention Christmas to? Well, get back to me. City D says, good one, life and sad ending. Tug says, where's my $2? Mr. Lynn says Natalie was murdered. It certainly appears that way. Tracer Admire says Jeremy Piven too. Oh yes, he was in a number of things. Yes, I know of him. Yes, I'm familiar with him. Tom Ludwig says, I agree, Led. It certainly does appear that way. Danny Keaton says, did you go to high school at Grosse Point Blank Tracy? Yeah, that was a movie with him in it. Torelli Jr. Bellinger says, which famous Swedish import do you like better, Dolph Lundgren or ABBA? ABBA. One night at Waterloo, Napoleon did surrender, and I'm going to surrender right there at that one. Oh, Tom Hungendrick says ABBA as well. Lisa Field says Thrash. I just watched Better Off Dead with my daughter, and I thought the same thing would not be made today. And it's a pity because it was just considered like harmless fun. I mean, it's a little close to the wind even for then, but The Unapologetic Geek says, and I'm going to call you Tug. I always call you Tug, and tonight I can't remember to call you Tug. Phoebe Cates' character from Gremlins. Oh, that's right, because I was making the references. Phoebe Cates still here, because, yeah. Oh, you went a long way for that joke. And yes, I won't mention Santa. Although, as you saw, I do have a fireplace. Mr. Lynn says, I fell in love with Natalie in the movie This Property is Condemned. I'm Team Rebel Cause here. Dave Filoni says, "Hey Thrash, may I have the privilege of being a mod?" Yes. In fact, in the name of God, Saint Michael, and Saint George, I give you the right to bear arms and the power to meet justice. Arise, Sir Dave Filoni. Zublik says Hogan's Heroes can not be made today. Maybe they'd have to like change a little bit, but I think they probably could make it today. Look who is here, the Foundation. Good morning from the UK, everyone. Got you on the background whilst I get ready for work, Thrash. So glad you could make it. It's like first thing in the morning in the UK. What is it, like 5, 6 hours difference? God, you must be like an early riser. So glad you could make it. Oh, Daily Dan, the unapologetic geek, has just given us. Daily Dan has given us a link to the unapologetic geek. Is what I was trying to say. I was trying to do two things at once. I'm so sorry. Teresa Rosmeyer says we all went to Evanston Township High School in Evanston, Illinois. Oh, Daily Dan has also given a link to the live and set ending. Thank you. Tug, thanks, Danny. Oh, and he says, everybody get excited for my heavy metal review on Sunday. I even mentioned Wizards. I cannot wait. I cannot wait. I I was working on my retrospect for Wizards, by the way, and it got bogged down in some other projects. But I promise, uh, it is in the works. I'm probably gonna do the stuff first, by the way, because I watched the stuff on the night a couple weeks ago when I said I was gonna like pick two movies, and I found some really cool stuff. But yeah, Tom has actually given me some great info on Wizards as well. So don't I haven't forgotten Wizards, but it's gonna. I'm probably gonna have to wait until after I get the Chromebook because there's some editing things I want to do with that one that I simply can't do right now. The foundation says 2:11 a.m. Ugh. I start work at 3:15. Well, I'm glad you decided to work me into your morning ritual. Thank you so much. Daily Dan has shamelessly given himself a link to his Fat Comic Book Guy channel. Check it out. He's got some great stuff there, too. Check out all Dan's channels. He's got some great stuff. Uh, Tug says everybody wants the stuff. Yes. Great film. Oh, by the way, I believe you were the one who mentioned Carnival of Souls. It was a photo finish in my collection. Stuff, Carnival of Souls. If the stuff had been out of place, I would watch Carnival of Souls. So I may still at some point. Number one dude is in the house. Number one dude, how you doing? Thrash, great to see you. Always good to see you, number one dude. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Oh, and Dilly, for those of you among us, and I can't believe anybody in this chat has not joined Dave Sunstrom's The Good Stuff. But for those of you who haven't, Daily Dan, or Danny Staten in this case, has just given us a link to Dave Sunstrom, The Good Stuff. His channel is where this all started. It's one of the best nostalgia stations on YouTube, hands down. That's why I stayed with it all these years. All the best music, movies, mostly TV from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. Just great stuff. He's never put up a bad post. He's joined my live chat. He's joined Ian's live chat, Pat's. Dan has actually done a couple videos with him. If you haven't, you got to subscribe. If we are a community, Dave is our mayor. Zublik says the problem is that once the live streams end, there goes the connection. Oh, yes. Tom Hungry says, I just heard a guy got shot. Jeez Louise, dude, take care of yourself. Do you need to like get to a safe location, dude? Don't take your life in your hands just to stay on my live chat. Let's see. Oh, Dave Thorney asked Lisa Fields, were you able to see Better Off Dead? Good point. I just happened to catch it on the other day somewhere. Tug says, "Oh yeah, that was definitely me. I always talk about Carnival of Souls." Yes, it reminds me of if you took a Twilight Zone episode and extrapolated it to a feature film. I always go with Carnival of Souls. Although Twilight Zone probably had a better production value. Tom Loney Dirk says, "My buddy met the chick from Carnival of Souls. Can't think of her name to save my life, but I don't know who you're talking about." Mr. Litt says, "CA is going crazy. A lot of the states aren't far behind." Dave Corney says, "Dave Sundstrom, aka the Pod Father." Oh, and you know what, Dan? I've been mentioning Ian all night, but Danny Staten has actually given a link to the retro serial. That's Ian's station that I'm always talking about, and I actually do a lot of work on that too. Most of you probably already know that, but just in case. The Life and Editing says, "We need to spread the word and get Thrash more subs. He has a certain unexplainable charm." Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yes, my idea is get a friend to sub. I don't either a friend from work, a friend from your neighborhood, other people that you talk to a lot on YouTube. Just get one person to subscribe to me, and we can repeat that process a couple of times, and I'll get to 1,000 no problem. Thank you. Thank you. The foundation says, "Nice seeing the links being dropped. Give me the opportunity to check out some new content." While we're on the subject, check out the foundation. He has some very amusing little short posts. They generally involve around him doing a brief art project around a certain theme. They're very slick. Check them out. They're very soothing to watch too. The number one dude says, "It was good to see you and Ian C on Monday." Thank you. Thank you for joining us on Monday. Oh, Lisa Fields points out YouTube has a lot of 80s movies for free. You have to kind of pick around, but yeah, there are a lot of them. Sometimes they get taken down very quickly, so you gotta kind of keep digging. Sometimes they get pulled down and then reposted. Tug says Candace Hilligross, I think is her name, from Carnival of Souls. I'll take your word for it. John Collins says, "Bob, what is your favorite meal at the restaurant you work at?" Funny you should ask. I've always loved Parmesans, but we have recently discovered we have a homemade marinated steak tip. And the marinade we soak them in, for some reason, blends phenomenally well with white sauce. So my favorite meal at my home restaurant is the fettuccine alfredo with steak tips. It is outstanding. We serve it with a garden salad with our own homemade Italian dressing, which is phenomenal. Some dinner rolls, which are very, very nice. But beyond that, we have an appetizer, which I loosely refer to as the cheesy Italian garlic cheesy bread. And it is even better than I made it sound. And if I'm not driving, I have it with a nice Chianti. Daryl Johnson says he has 162. Yes. So if you all have one friend, that would be 324. And then we repeat the process a couple of times, and I'll get to over 1,000. But yes, Daryl Johnson's right. I have 162 at present. City says, yes, Lisa Fields just saw Roxanne with Steve Martin from 1987 the other day on YouTube. Love that movie. Mr. Litt says, Candace Hilligross is the girl from Carnival. Thank you. Zuplik says, watch The Unashamed from 1938. You know what movie I saw the other night? And it's funny, too, because I own it. But I was on YouTube, and I didn't feel like going into my garage, which is where I keep my library. I watched White Zombie with Bela Lugosi. that movie still holds water as a horror movie, and it's pre-code, so they actually push the envelope in a lot of areas, um, particularly towards the well. I don't want to give anything away, but if you haven't seen White Zombie, check it out. It's absolutely an amazing 30s horror movie. Tug says, I need to go sub to all of these people. Hey, you sure do. Dave Clooney says, Thrasher took your advice and watched Corey's comedy channel. It was hilarious. Thank you. Doesn't he have some great stuff? And he's planning his first live chat very, very, very soon. So if you get a chance, subscribe so you'll know when his first live chat is coming on. Keith E says, why don't cannibals eat clowns? They taste funny. Again, I'm going to steal that one and use it and take credit for it. That one's priceless. That one's priceless. That really is. Tug says YouTube will play some movies for free with ads, usually from official channels. Oh, yes, I have noticed that. Zublick says, so your restaurant is Italian. Yes, it's an Italian. We have a number of seafood dishes. This is Cape Cod, and the owners came with a marketing buzzsaw. A lot of people come to the Cape for seafood. And there are some great seafood dishes, but they actually did a little experimenting. We actually have a very extensive now seafood menu, but not exclusively. We're mostly known for our Italian cuisine, but we have some other great stuff as well. Those steak dips I told you that can be done as a traditional meal without pasta. So the way I heard it put best is this was on a Yelp review or something. I can't quite recall. It was some review I read online. But they go, when you have a family of picky eaters and 2 want seafood and 2 want Italian and 2 want something completely that isn't either one of those, where do you go? And it's true because we can fit the bill. And Denny Staten has very graciously given the link to Corey's comedy channel. Dan, you are all about it. Thank you so much. Suplex asks, do you have a Blu-ray collection? I don't. I have DVDs and, don't laugh, VHS. I have about 300 VHS as well, by the way. I still watch them. In fact, that's what I watched the other night. I might watch a couple tonight. I haven't decided yet. Tom Ludrick says, seen White Zombie in the theater years ago. Ooh, I'm so jealous. Tom Ludrick says, this is official. Gotta go. Thanks, everyone. Take care of yourself. Zuplix asks, any clam chowder? We have an excellent clam chowder. We haven't quite gotten to the stage where we could win the Cape Cod Chowder Fest, but we have an excellent chowder that everyone who's ever had it has enjoyed it. That Chinese restaurant I was telling you about earlier, we actually had Chinese chowder. It was clam chowder, but it was Eastern clam chowder. People loved that too. There was ginger root and some other stuff in it. People loved it. John Collins says, Bob, are you allowed to say the name of the restaurant you work at? I don't see why not, since you asked. It's called De Parma. Thank you. The Life and Setting says, why didn't Natalie Wood take a shower on the boat? Steve. Gerald Johnson says, Riki O. Story of Riki is a classic. There's a bell ringing in the back of my head, but I can't place it. So Blitz says, these links disappear after the live stream. I never knew that. Well, use them while you can, kids. I honestly never knew that. Lisa Field says, Thrash, what happened to your videos of your pond? Pond's pond? They're still on there, aren't they? I believe they still are. Last time I checked my what do you call it? My videos, they were still showing. I'll check. I believe they're still there. Mr. Led says, stop, Thrash, you're making me hungry. Dave Clooney says, Dave Staten, I nominate you to be the head of your Chamber of Commerce in our community. And when Dave, by the way, you have the mods now, by the way, so you're showing up as blue and you have the little wrench. Trader with Meyer says, well, folks, it's time for bed. Have a nice night, everyone. Tracy, was so nice having you, by the way. Take care of yourself. Thanks for joining us. You had to say it, didn't you, Steve? She wanted to wash up on the shore, yes. Naughty, naughty, no biscotti. Oh, Cindy D says, open the links, then save them to your phone or computer. Denny Staten says, I am the link master. Keith E says, a blonde walks into a Dunkin' Donuts. They have a scratch-off game, and she yells, I want a mobile home. I want a mobile home, and they say, no, it has to be a bagel. She yells, I want a mobile home, and they say, no, it has to say win a bagel instead of Winnebago. Okay. I'm sorry, Keith. It took me a couple of seconds on that one, but thank you. Let's see what else we get going on here. Zublix asks, what's your most expensive dish? The New York sirloin, maybe? Yeah, I want to say the New York sirloin. If not the panko haddock and shrimp, but I would off the top of my head say the New York sirloin. All of our food is very reasonably priced. We're a family restaurant, so all of our food is very reasonably priced. Zublix says, "What is the most?" Oh, I thought I just read that. Oh no, he says. Zublix says, "What is the most requested item on the menu?" It would have to be the parmesans, and of the parmesans, I would say it would probably be the chicken parmesan, but you can't go wrong. Ours are as good as anyone else's. Parm for parm. On Vulcan, it would be the parm far. Sorry. So Luke says, how do your staff deal with rowdy drunks at the bar? We tend not to get that at our bar. People are usually just coming in for dining and have a couple of cocktails with the meal. Every now and then people get rowdy and we throw them out. Manager threw this is a true story. Manager went through an entire family out. They were having some nasty argument, not a domestic, but just they would not stop being obnoxious. Server asked them to keep it down because they were bothering other guests. They told the server where she could go, and they just said, "Get the out." It was refreshing. Cindy says, "Nothing wrong with VHS. They still work." Number one dude says ribeye is good. It sure is. Of course, my teeth. Lisa Field says, "Have to go. Good night, everyone." Lisa, so nice of you to join us. Thank you. Darrell Johnson said, "Did Emily show up?" I did not see Emily tonight. She's always saying she will sometime. In the comments, not as a guest, in the comments. But I'm sure she will sometime. Don't want to push it, I don't want to seem needy, but I'm sure she will. There's a lot of people from Dave's streams that I would love to have in my comment section here. But people have lives, and I understand. Denny Staten says, OMG, I have thousands of VHS tapes, and my VCR is broken. Can't watch them. I have like a couple of barely functioning VHSs in my collection. But they're holding up steady. Life in Setting says, no surf and turf. You could get $39 for that. Do you know what the domestic price of lobster is these days? Forget it. Forget it. Even if we could drive to Maine to get our own lobsters, it wouldn't be worth it. Tug says this video was directed by Brian De Palma. Love it. Love it. People used to call us De Palmas for a while, not realizing because there actually is an island of Palma, but we are Parma. We started in Parma. That's an old Rat Pack song. Rat Pack, bite my tongue. Life in Settings says, do you declare your tips? I used to work for the IRS. I was going to say, what do you work for the IRS? Of course I declare my. We actually cannot sign out. There's a whole when we're going to clock out, there's a spot where you actually need to declare not just your tips, your cash tips. The credit card tips are already tracked because they're on your day's receipts. But yes, I declare my cash tips. There's one thing I never want a problem with. It's the IRS. So no, I'm a good boy and I declare my tips. So Didi says I had a box of VHS tapes and my husband threw them away long ago. I'm still mad. LOL. I'm Cindy. I'm very. You've been having a rough night tonight, Cindy. I'm very sorry. Are you okay? I'm sorry. You seem down tonight. By the way, and I'm sorry I couldn't make you a little happier tonight. I'll try harder. Come on, everybody, smile for Cindy. Let's see. Wonder what dude says Robster Cross. The book says the problem with VHS is that they wear away. They do. They start to degrade. Although mine is still holding steady. Of course, I've been keeping them in a very musty, damp garage for the last few years. But where else am I going to put them? It's Cape Cod. Everything. I live next to a pond. Everything is damp. Oh, Kenneth Wilkinson says, good night, everyone. Good night, Cindy. Good night to you, Kenneth. Thank you so much for joining us. The Elephant's Editing says, hello, just kidding. Of course, I kind of figured you were kidding. Are you, though? Zublik says, how many customers are your favorites? Oh, wow. We have a ton of regulars. And I'm not going to name them. There's only 2 regulars that I can't stand. And a lot of us can't. And I'm not even going to give you a hint of why we can't stand them, because if I describe them at all, they'll know who I'm talking about. But the overwhelming majority of our regulars, the ones we see all year long, are wonderful, wonderful people. And to be honest, there's a lot of people we see every summer, and I love them too. So it would be tough to pick a favorite, but I have dozens of customers that I love. It's one of the reasons why I've stayed at this particular place for so long. Tom Lemery says, Parma can be very good. Very good. A bitch. Number 1 dude says, it's that damp weather. It sure is. It sure is. I live next to like a marsh. Well, you guys have seen Ponce's Pond. Although Lisa Field says the pond videos, she didn't see them. I'm sure they're buried somewhere. I have like 200 videos. Actually, not 200, but I have well over 100 videos now. Darrell Johnson says, you live next to a pond and you work at a place called The Pond. That never stuck in my head before. Wajamin says, what is your highest tip thresh? When I worked for a pizza delivery, mine was almost 100. This is a true story. It's a couple years ago, right before the pandemic hit. And as you know, Massachusetts was hit way early on. And they decided that they had a shutdown. They shut everything in Massachusetts down except for supermarkets and, thank goodness, liquor stores. And restaurants. I was actually in a cinema when they closed the cinemas. They let the film we were watching finish. It was King Kong. I finally saw it on the big screen. But the next day, I get a phone call from my boss saying Massachusetts had closed all restaurants, hospitality, and we would be closed until further notice. I'm getting sidetracked. Anyway, we reopened and we're doing fine now, but this would have been maybe a year before that. We had a family. There were these 4 families that used to come to the Cape every year. Old friends brought their kids with them, and it was like a 25 seat group. And they took, literally, I needed my entire station in order to seat all of them. And of course, they were having fellowship. They hadn't seen each other in forever. The kids were having fun. They were having appetizers. Now, you might find this hard to believe, but I'm a fairly affable person. So when people just want to hang out and have a good time, I'll go into my Vilcom and Yenna, my cabaret routine. So I'm mixing it up with the kids, which the parents love because then they can actually sit and chat and have a good time. They're there literally from, I'd say, about 5 o'clock to close to, well, I'd say at least 7:30, 8 o'clock. They were pretty much my only party. And I want to say their check came to about 550, 560. So I mean, I'm expecting a solid tip, but not a better night when that's your only table. And so I'm thinking, maybe I'll get a buck 50. Well, remember I said there were four families that all came down together? First gentleman says, "Oh, this is for you." Gives me $100. Let's start. Second one comes over and gives me $100. Third head of family comes over and gives me 100. Guess what the fourth head of family does? Yes. On a $560 check, I made $400. I made more money off this one party in one night than I would have made had I just had an open station. That was my best tip. That was legendary. We still talk about that at my restaurant. And again, I've kind of been long-winded, so I'm going to have to go back here and see what I've missed. Zublik says, I'm so lucky. Thank you. The foundation says, at least with VHS, I was forced to a point to watch the entire film movie because we did not have the easy access to content we do today. That's so true. You'd stop it and then have to pick up where you left off. It was a pain in the butt. Zublik says they didn't close the liquor stores. No, this is actually funny. This got to the governor. The governor decided that liquor stores could be considered essential service because he was afraid people cooped up in their house without being able to take the occasional wine or spirit might start climbing the walls. So no, they did not close the liquor stores. Some may have opted to close, but I never had any trouble finding beer. Danny Staten says, hey, Pons, did you see I went to the Wrestling Hall of Fame? I did not see that, but we have a link. Thank you. The foundation says, also, I missed the early days of the DVD when the companies tried to make their menu screens as OTT as possible. Some of them became more entertaining than the films itself. That is so true. I actually remember that. I remember that. Zublik says, how did your restaurant survive the COVID crisis? Well, that was easy. We were all laid off, and we actually got a nice relief from the fund. So I was able to make enough money to survive in the 10 weeks we were closed. The restaurant itself, takeout was considered essential. So they were able to keep the restaurant going by selling takeout food to people who needed takeout. So they were able to stay in business for that 10-week period. They may have gotten something in the way of a relief as well. That I don't know about. But I know the actual kitchen stayed open throughout. It was just the dining room and the servers that part of the restaurant shut down. But my understanding was they sold more dinners with takeout and delivery than they would have had we been open. Oh, Cindy says, I'm fine, Thrash. Oh, thank you. I'm glad, Cindy. You seemed a little down tonight. And we care about you. Keithy says, but I am everybody's favorite blind viewer. And he smiled. Yes, that's something I forget about Keithy. He reminded me. He is visually impaired, I think is the way they're putting it these days. Or more inclined, he cannot see. So apparently it's my resident voice which he keeps putting back for time and time again. And Keith, I want to say how flattering that is. And I'll try to keep my my post as audibly friendly as possible. What was that service they had ages ago where they would show an old movie, and anytime the action stopped, they would have a narrator come in and say, Abbott hits Costello over the head with a bat. Anytime the audio track would stop, just to sort of keep the people who couldn't actually see what was going on engaged. I remember that from years ago, but I forget what it was called. Zuplex says, so the stereotype of the Irish are Zuplex, we've talked about this. Stop that. John Collins asks, does the restaurant have a website? Yes, it can also be found on Yelp. Dennis Gayton says, by the way, Pawns, that is one cool shirt. Thank you very much. Thank you. This is my party animal shirt. I usually wear it with a Hawaiian shirt on top, but that's a little extreme for this show. Terrell Eugene Billinger says, I had to go now because it's my dinner time. Enjoy the rest of your night. Bye. Terrell, have a wonderful dinner. Thank you for joining us, and it's been great having you. The Life and Editing says, the mob guys are like that. I'm not a mob guy. I'm a kitten. Looks like we have some more late arrivals. Just scanning down as we go. Yes, Zuplex, our restaurant does do takeout, but it'll be one heck of a drive for you. Roger Aguilar says, can you read my comment? Yes, I can. Thank you, and welcome to the channel. The Movie World Comics says, greetings, everyone. Movie World Comics, thank you so much for joining us, by the way. I haven't seen you in a while, but I'm glad you're back. Good to see you. Darrell Johnson says, hey, Roger. Roger Aguilar, if I pronounced your name wrong, please forgive me. I want to be famous for a bit. We all want to be famous. Sadly, my channel doesn't have that much notoriety, but glad you decided to stop in and visit our channel. Thank you. Let's see. Tug says, so not all of us are here for the power of your handsome mug and excellent shirts. So it would seem. Zublik says, did you meet any of the other Kennedys? Yes, I did actually. Joe Jr. used to come in as well. And, what is his name? He's a senator for New York now, I think. Michael Kennedy? Met him as well. Life and Sending says, you are famous to us, Thrash. Keith E says, exactly, the modulation. Well, Keith, thank you. I will try to continue to modulate as much as possible. Roger Aguilar, okay. Thank you. That's good. By the way, Keith, are you able to read the other comments, by the way? Do you have a system where you can actually have the chats read out loud? Because it's typed. Do you have a system where they read them out? Or I know I do it myself, actually, but just out of curiosity, did you have any other special features for just such a necessity? Zuplik says, did you ever visit JFK's gravesite? No, I haven't. My mother actually once hit the wall of the Kennedy compound once. We were driving by Hyannisport, and we were going through an intersection right by the compound, and an oncoming car wasn't paying attention and hit us and knocked us into the wall of the Kennedy compound. Kennedys weren't there at the time, but we made quite a splash. Darrell Johnson says, keep your eyes open, Danny. Yeah, okay. Roger Aguilar, it was nice having you with us, but I think we've had enough of your visit tonight. Mods, feel free. Life and Sending says, so did John. If that means what I think it means, you're naughty boy. Let's just see. Actually, I'm going to get this one myself. Bye, Roger. What a weirdo. They find me. How do they all find me? Actually, if anybody else wants to go take the rest of them out. I was hoping he was just some new guy who showed up because he liked my content, but I guess not. 1012 says, come on, wrenches. Yes. Take him away. Let's just see. The Apologetic Geek says he will not be missed. Yeah, I try to. Sometimes, you think they're just some like new poster who's socially awkward, and then they got to push the envelope, and it's like, again, what do you hope to gain, weirdos? John Collins says, I believe, sir, that Ian's books would do well to be the voice reading them. I'm serious. I'm sure you're not big on all his topics, but hey, that narration voice is one hell of a narration voice. No, I think you're right. I think, well, actually, they actually did a study where they find that you actually have better retention when a story is read to you as opposed to when you read it visually by just reading the words. My guess is that's because initially, when we were cavemen, people told us stories. We didn't have a written language. That came later. That didn't come until the Assyrians, I think, or someone like that. So uh, Phoenicians maybe, but whatever. So we're hardwired to listen to storytelling, but not quite hardwired for reading yet. So yeah, when a book is read to you, you absorb it better. And I got to tell you, that's lately I've been doing that with like books. When we were doing our series on book versus movie, I wasn't going out and reading the book. I would just play Starship Troopers or something in the background. So D says you got a lot of great questions tonight, Thrash. Thank you. Yes, I'm sure I did. Dennis Jayden said, my mom was in Texas when JFK was shot. She took some of the last pictures of him ever taken at the airport on his arrival. That is amazing. That is amazing. Zublex asks if she still has those photos. She just passed on recently, but if they're in your estate, I would grab them. Keith E says, Siri can read the comments, but it's difficult if they're going too fast. Going by, but typing Thai comment is sometimes difficult. Well, I've noticed that it's probably a similar problem to like when I go to closed captioning on some of my posts just for laughs. Some of the ways it translates what I'm saying is actually really kind of funny. So I can see how that they might mistranslate words and be like, what the heck are they talking about? Number one dude says audiobooks are good. They certainly are. They certainly are. John Collins says, no, Bob, sir, I meant you should be the narrator. I said, I should be the narrator. Oh, I thought you said Ian C should be the narrator. You think I should be the narrator. Thank you. I did suggest that. I did suggest that to Ian C, and Dave was all over it. I think Ian would be more inclined to want to read his own book. He would know where to inflect and whatnot. But thank you, John. That was very, very kind of you. Dave Thorney says, tonight has been a great chat. Yes, it certainly has. Thank you. And I want to thank all of you because much as you love the sound of my voice and much as you can't get enough of my boyish charm, it's really the material that I'm given. If I don't have anything to work with, I'm just going to be here going, so what are we going to talk about? You guys actually give me the stuff. Everybody wants the stuff. And I pass it on. So I want to thank all of you who joined me tonight and all of you who provided this great content. Oh, yeah, Dennis Gaten says, my mom passed away in March. We're still going through her stuff. She was a photographer for 50 years. There's millions of pictures to go through. Must be amazing. Suplik says, you have a radio voice, T-Pawns. That's funny. I've always been told I have a face for radio. Tom Laramie says, thank you for having me. Tom, no, thank you. Thank you. You're a new subscriber. Subscribers are always welcome here. People who haven't subscribed are always welcome here, provided they don't pull a Roger and, are nice at first and then get creepy. But anyway, Tom, you're aces. So thank you so much for joining us. The Life Unsetting says, here's a tip for your channel. On your videos, like and heart all comments. Way ahead of you. Way ahead of you. I also, and I don't know if you notice this, I always comment back to my commenters to increase the comment count. I also think it's a nice thing to do. People take the time to leave a comment, give them a nice personalized comment back. But yes, I always like and heart all my commenters. And thank you for the advice, Steve. The Movie World Comics says, "Am I the only one who thinks Dave Sundstrom should write the forward to ENC's book? I think it's a great idea. So no, there's at least two." The Apologetic Geek says, "If you're here and you haven't hit the like button yet, do it before Klaatu Barada's your Nick too. Gord Klaatu Barada's Nick too." One of my favorite sci-fi trivia questions. Jenny Staten says, "My mom was a staff photographer for Life magazine for 20 years, and then a wrestling photographer for NWA and WWF wrestling." That's amazing. Tom Murray says, "Never pull a Roger. Have a good night." No, Tom, you have a good night too. And sadly, he's not the only one who does it. We get a lot of times of the people who basically come in as these like sort of like, "Rawr," and you know exactly what they're doing, and you're like, "Bye." But sometimes we had a couple last week and the week before that where they come, "Hey, I knew your channel. What are you guys doing? What are you guys talking about?" And then in 2 minutes, you're like, "Yeah." Your services are no longer required. But no, Tom, you've always been awesome. So thank you for joining us. Let's just see what we got going on here. Wajamin says your channel is awesome. Thanks for all that you do. Thank you so much. Thank you all. We should be kind of wrapping it up now. It's almost 10 o'clock. We've been going for, believe it or not, we've been going for almost 2 solid hours. Seriously, think about it. Just 2 solid hours of you guys throwing stuff out there and me reading it to the crowd. That's that's amazing that we can keep the conversation that lively. But we should be thinking about wrapping it up in a few minutes. John Collins says, "Bob, one thing I was suggested. You always seem to say like, comment, and forward. The common nomenclature is the comment and share. Oh, I should say share rather than forward. Yes, I'm old school." Zublik says, "Tom is leaving." I think he's wrapping up. So, Tom, if you are leaving, have a great night. If you're still here, thank you for sticking around with us. The Life and Set ending says, "Yeah, some people come in here with their bad taste jokes. That I don't have a problem with. It's the sketchy, creepy. Oh, I'll leave it at sketchy and creepy." The Foundation says, "Gotta go, guys. Stay safe and have a good one, everyone. You as well." Tug says, "But it's so much fun. It can't be over yet." Praise from Caesar. Praise from Caesar. The book says, "Yes, it's almost 2 hours. Pat is too brief." I get that a lot. Usually live chats usually cut off around an hour. At the hour point here, we're just getting started. Oh, Keithy says, "One final happy birthday." Keith, thank you so much. Thank you so much, and thank you for joining us. It was my pleasure having you. A lot of people saying good night. John Collins says, "Bye for now, Bob, and everyone, and bye to you too. Bye to you too." Well, anyway, folks, if you haven't checked out my recent collection of dad jokes, please check that out. Please check that out. It's number 13. 13 is my lucky number. And I got a couple more surprises in the works for the not too distant future. I'm trying to get the Chromebook. I just haven't been able to get down to the Best Buy. I've been like just so busy. It's like days just get away from me. I got some guy to work in my attic this coming Monday, so I'm going to be trapped in my house on my day off on Monday. But anyway, I do have some new stuff coming up. Be watching for it. And again, check out my new video today. Also, Blake says, "Did you get a birthday cake?" Yes, I got a white or a yellow cake with that very rich cream, not buttercream. It tastes almost like whipped cream, but it's cake frosting. And it had a big dollop of strawberry preserves at the top. It was just yummy. Thank you. Thank you for asking. Number one dude says, "Hit that like button, Thrash." Thank you. Yes, everyone hit the like. Dave Flory says, "Happy birthday." Danny Staten says, "LOL, I was born on November 13th. My dad was the 11th." Tug says, "Happy 21st birthday, Thresh. It's nice that you can finally imbibe legally, young man. Do you know how long it's been since I've had to worry about a fake ID?" 35 years. That's actually a song by Dr. Demento. I wish I was 18 again so I could get a fake ID. uh, oh, the movie World Comics says, so was I. Hey, a lot of Scorpios in the house. Jeez. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining me. I've had a great time. Be good, be safe, be careful, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all again very, very, very soon. I don't know if I've got something live for next week because I think Dave actually wants his spot back. But if he's not doing Thursday, you know he'll be filling in. And either way, I'll be in touch. Have a good one. Everyone's saying thank you. And oh, Tug is November 5th. Happy birthday to you, prelated. And everyone's saying good night. Guys, good night. Thank you so much. I had an absolutely wonderful time, as always. And hey, we only got that one kind of, it wasn't even really a bot, it was more of a creep. So we're getting better. And if I haven't said good night to you in person, I just want to say good night to you across the board. Night, everyone.